Hey guys, so in this video we'll talk about 3 Klaviyo flows that you probably don't have on your Klaviyo account that generate high revenue. And how do I know that you probably don't have them is because my name is Teodor and I am the owner of Seven Ecom, which is an e-com marketing agency, and we help 7 and 8-figure brands scale profitably with meta ads, conversion rate optimization, and Klaviyo email marketing, which is the topic of this video. And you can see these are just a few results that we have achieved for our clients, and this is only for Klaviyo. So for that reason I get to audit a lot of accounts, and these are top 3 flows that I see that many brands don't have in their Klaviyo account, so therefore they miss a lot of revenue potential. And if you have these 3 flows, you will significantly increase your revenue from email marketing. So the first one that we have here is the site abandonment flow. So when does the site abandonment flow actually trigger? So this is the funnel of your website, of your Shopify store. On the top you have the home page or a collection page or even a blog post, then you have a product page, then you have add to cart, then you have a checkout, and finally they purchase your product, which is the ultimate goal of every visitor that is on your website. So when does the site abandonment, which is the first flow, actually trigger? When your visitors are on your website and they're on your home page or collection page or a blog post and they didn't proceed to the product page, that's when the site abandonment flow triggers, and the goal is to make them convert or to make them go to the next step to visit the product page, or when they're on the product page, add the product to the cart, go to the checkout, and hopefully buy the product from you. So I see a lot of brands that are not utilizing this flow, which is super important flow. So let's cover what is the trigger for this flow so you can set it up, and as well how the email should look like, what it should contain, and all that stuff. So first of all, as you can see, the trigger starts when somebody is active on the website, whether it's on the home page or product page, even a checkout. But the thing is that to make sure that this triggers only if they are in the first part of the process and they haven't proceeded to the next steps, we want to exclude all these next steps from this flow. So the exclusion goes like this. The first exclusion that we have is placed order 0 times since starting this flow. So we don't want to target those who have gone throughout the whole process and actually bought the product. We also want to exclude if somebody has viewed the product. So viewed product 0 times since starting this flow, because we don't want to target these people that have gone to the product page. That's a different flow. Then we want to exclude people that have started the checkout, as you can see, it's on the bottom. And finally, we want to exclude people that have added the product to the cart, so added to cart 0 times since starting this flow, so it doesn't fire up for all these people that have added the product to the cart. So ultimate goal of this is to separate these people that are on the home page and still haven't gone to the product page or to the checkout or wherever, and therefore just to get them to the next step of the flow. And so make sure you set up this trigger well. Now let's cover what this email of this flow should contain, what are some of tips for this email and all that stuff. So what should email contain? You want to show some products or even collections, preferably products, and to try to get them to that product page so they can just continue with their purchasing flow. So for that reason, you can just include some collections, some products and all the stuff, new arrivals, a little bit of the product description and all the stuff. So that way they just continue with their purchasing flow. So a couple of things regarding this email that I would advise you is, because this will be the most frequent flow, for that reason I would start with one message just to see how it performs, what are the negative metrics, is your message maybe too aggressive and stuff. So you want to be careful with this one, because this will be the flow that gets triggered the most on your Shopify store, because most of people will be on the home page or collection page without getting to the product page. And for that reason, just start with one message, see how it performs, optimize it, and when you see great metrics, you can proceed on adding more emails into this flow. Then the second thing, I would test timing. Don't send too early, don't appear like a creepy brand, like immediately as they leave your homepage or collection page, you just send them immediately. I would set up like 2, 3 or 4 hours. It's really all about testing at this point. You want to see how your audience reacts on different time frames and stuff. So for that reason, test timing, that's one of the most important things that you can do for this flow. Then don't be super aggressive. As I mentioned, this will get the most triggered. You don't want to appear as a creepy brand. Try to be friendly. Don't push for discounts and all that stuff. And don't go super salesy with this one. The goal is to get them to the product page. We already mentioned that, and it's too early for discounts. Don't go for discounts in this one because, as I mentioned, it will get the most triggered. And when you start with discounts and all stuff, you start being too aggressive, and that way somebody will just dislike you and unsubscribe or even report you as a spam. So that's the first email flow for this video. Then the next flow that we have here is called the cart abandonment flow. So I see a lot of entrepreneurs having the issue that they kind of mix up cart abandonment and checkout abandonment, and I understand why is that. It's because Klaviyo labels these two as the same, but they're not the same. They're very different. The difference between the cart abandonment and checkout abandonment is that the cart abandonment actually occurs when somebody adds a product to the cart, but they do not go to the checkout, while the checkout abandonment occurs when somebody is on their product page, they add the product to the cart, they go to the checkout, but they don't purchase. So these are two completely different flows, and you have to understand them, and you need to have both of these flows if you want to maximize your revenue from email marketing, and I highly advise you to do. I have a video on how to build the cart abandonment flow in depth. You can check it out in the corner of this video. But let's cover in short what are the triggers for this flow. The triggers for this flow are somebody has added the product to the cart, and then the things that we want to exclude, as I mentioned, checkout started 0 times starting this flow, because we don't want to send this flow to these guys here. That's a separate flow. That's a check abandonment flow. Then again, we have placed order 0 times since starting this flow. Obviously, no need to target those who have placed the order and has not been in this flow in the last 14 days, because we don't want to be super aggressive. Like if they add the product to the cart in 5 days, again, we don't want to send once again, because that way we can appear as a spammy brand, and we don't want them to unsubscribe or report us as a spam. So you can set up as a 7 days if you want to be more aggressive, but as a starting point, I would just recommend you to go with 14 days. So yeah, the goal of this flow is to make them convert or get them again to the next step, which would be the checkout, initiate checkout thing. Yeah. So what this email should contain? It should contain product that they have forgotten. So you can see this is just an example that I got from the really good emails. Just list out products. You can set up this easily with Klaviyo. Once again, I have a video on this. So you can have a coupon code as well. It really depends if you want to be a brand that associates with providing too much discounts or not. Some brands don't provide a discount until they go for the initiate checkout, basically their checkout abandonment sequence. So for that reason, you just need to choose and make a decision. If you want to provide a discount here, you can go with it. The best thing that you can do is to test both things. Then this is super important one, social proof. Social proof works very well for all these people who are just on the fence to buy, because when they see a good experience of other people with your brand, with your product, that way they will just be more likely to place the order. So social proof works very well for people that are on the fence to buy. So yeah, a couple of things that I would advise you here is to test different timings. Timings are super important. Once again, for all these flows, test 1 hour versus 4 hour, then narrow down on what works better. And you can be a bit more aggressive here. Like as I mentioned, you can go with the discounts, because this is really your warm audience. They have added the product to the cart. They need just that extra push, like a discount or a social proof. And you can do discounts depending on your checkout sequence. That's the thing that I have already mentioned. So make that decision and go with it. So yeah, that's super important flow, and I highly recommend you to have both cart abandonment and checkout abandonment on your Klaviyo account. And the third flow that we have here, the last one for this video, is post-purchase flows. So a lot of brands make their customers buy the first time, but they don't utilize their email marketing to make them place their second order and stuff. And for that reason, post-purchase flows are super important thing into that. The thing is that you can divide your post-purchase experience into kind of 2 sections. The first one is thank you sequence, then the second one is cross-sell sequence. I recommend you to have these 2 sequences as a separate flows, but I just wanted to put them here because they get into the same post-purchase experience after your customers places the order, right? So the thank you sequence is super important one, and if you nail down your thank you sequence, your cross-sell sequence will perform better. That's just tested. That's how it is. You should provide as much as possible value in your thank you sequence, and when you provide value, it's just a natural reaction that people will buy more from you because they feel like they own you something. And what you should have in your thank you sequence after they place the first order, you can have the brand introduction, you can have the educational content, which is super important one, and you can just try to provide as much as possible value before asking something, so that therefore you kind of build that emotional bank with your customers, and that way later on when you want to ask them to buy again from you, it will be just much easier and better response from them. So as I mentioned, this works way better when you have a very good thank you sequence. Then after you nail down your thank you sequence, that's when you can do some cross sells, flows and all that stuff. So what I would advise you to do is to, based on which product your customers have bought, you can create a separate sequence just for that product. Those would usually be your hero products. So if your hero product, your main product is, for example, the wallet, you can build a sequence of flow that will just target these people and that will offer them maybe a bag or sunglasses or whatever, something that they might be interested in. And this will take you a little bit more of testing, but it's very well worth it, because when you nail down, it's just the machine that works very well for you, and it will just provide you with a lot of sales, because people will just buy more products from you. They will place more of the second orders and stuff. And so for that reason, this is super important one. I highly recommend you for each of your hero product to build a separate sequence and therefore really nail down your post-purchase experience. So these are all upsells or cross-sells based on the product purchase. So the goal of this flow is to make them place their second order, and that's just way easier than the first order. So it's really sad to see many brands that are not utilizing this flow to make them place the second order, which is once again much easier than making them place the first order. So what this email should contain: the product that is relevant, as I mentioned. You can also have a coupon code. You can see in this example, this email shows a few products. That's the thing I wanted to mention here. You can go for one product versus more product. It's once again really all about testing different products, different collections, combinations and all that stuff. You can also try a bounce back flow versus send after some time, for example after delivered. For some brands it works very well, so immediately after your customers buy your product, you send them an email saying, hey, before we get this item shipped to you, would you like to add something more for the discount of 10%? And it can work very well. You should really test it out. That can be a high performing flow for your brand. So for that reason, I highly recommend you to have these post-purchase flows, because that will hugely help you with increasing your LTV and generally your retention. So yeah, so that's it for this video. I hope you found it useful. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. If you own an e-commerce brand and if you'd like us to take care of all these things and to help you scale profitably, check the link below and like and subscribe if you'd like more content like this. So that's it for this one. See you in the next one.